about it when it was really me that was uncomfortable with me. So I separated myself from my family. At the age of 19 to 23, I tried to go back to just being a boy. And it didn't work. It was a failure. Everybody thought I was, a gay female trying to be a female to male, basically.
Wow.
So, and I had others a few that were going through the same thing, but they were very closeted, very afraid.
Yeah.
Because back then, you were in public, they knew you were beat down.
Yeah, it was certainly a different time.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Even just being a gay man, you were beat down. Someone knew.
Right.
A gay boy, a gay girl.
Never mind being so different as being trans.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You represented, something different other than heterosexual. You were beat down for it.
Yeah. I believe that times have changed a lot.
Definitely.
And I have not seen the kind of treatment that you've seen.
Yeah.
There's no mob outside the TV studio
that started
it.
changing when I was in junior college, actually. And I went to Three Rivers and I went to UConn. Those things changed then.
Yeah.
I had my legal name changed. I was living as a woman, and on hormones and changing physically, so I was allowed to use the female bathroom without getting arrested or getting kicked out of school.
Yeah.
And, I could go to the functions as myself, and there was no problem.
Yeah.
So, people just have so much fear of something that's different, what they consider normal, that's just in the heterosexual life out there, and anything. I mean, gays marrying, transgenders marrying, black and white together, come on, even then, just to be a single mother, you were considered a hoe, or disowned, or having a black child and you were white, or having a mulatto child, so what? Or having a mulatto boyfriend, or being white and black or Chinese and mixing the nationalities. I have sisters who went through that. I went through that.
That's unfortunate. It's I really think we've come a long way. I don't think we're there yet.
Definitely.
But we've come a long way.
It's okay today to be a transgender child.
Yeah.
You don't have to hide anymore. You don't get arrested for it. Your parents don't get arrested for it. I mean, we can't help that we were born what we were born. We were born with that overabundance.
Absolutely right. I mean, it's interesting.
Pretty eye-opening, too, because I've always I look at people who transition young, and perhaps that's because I'm looking at them today when it's a lot easier to do that, and I always fight against the urge to condemn myself for taking so long to do it. But if I had done this 30 years ago in the rural South, they would have killed you. They would have killed me. So I really have to say, well, no, take a step back and say, no, I made the right decisions for where I was. But I have a great deal of respect for people who went ahead and were able to transition.
I was hoping for the change. That's my constant hope, was for the change. Just keep at it, be you no matter what. Take the punches, take the beatings. It's going to be like the black rights were. It's going to change.
Right.
We're going to have rights. I'm going to have a right to be an open transsexual woman. Come on, think about this, transgender. If we could choose to not be this way and born this way, would we not choose not to be? I know I would have. And been a normal, what everybody's calling a normal person in society.
Well, I would certainly have chosen to have a body that fit my brain.
Exactly, the body that fits the,
But the argument there being, right, that you would choose to have the brain that fit the body you were born in. However, we haven't quite perfected the brain transplants yet.
Right.
Well, no, because changing the brain fundamentally changes who you are, and I like who I am. I wouldn't change that.
It took me a long time to like who I am. And I do like who I am.
Yeah.
So I was born this way. But it's not all bad either.
No, it's not.
I've had met a lot of good people along the way. I have met some very special people along the way in my life. I've had people who've reached out to me and helped me change my life when I chose the wrong direction. Took me literally off the street. But they were also gay or transgendered. And I've had some so-called straight heterosexuals reach out as well. So, it hasn't been totally bad altogether, but it's been a rough ride.
Yeah.
And I don't think that anybody, no matter what they are and who they choose and what sexuality they choose, should not have to be beaten down for it,
Right.
Absolutely.
physically, or be called, tortured mentally, emotionally, and verbally for who and what they are.
I hearken back to a sign that my mother had around the house. I forget exactly if it was a poster or a magnet or something, but I remember this picture of this little, almost a Calvin kind of kid, and the message on this said, "God don't make no junk." And the funny thing is, as poor grammar as it is, it sticks in my head time and again. God don't make no junk.
That's right. That's right, and certainly we get a lot of argument about this kind of thing, but
Right.
but and that's an old argument that what we do suggests that God made a mistake. I don't buy that at all.
No, we're not a
I'm very
mistake. I'm
happy
not
with
a
what I
mistake.
am. I don't consider myself a mistake, and so I think that's a bogus argument. But yeah, and I kind of like there's something very special about being transsexual. In fact, it's a rough ride. Especially it's a very rough ride, but
you come through it stronger.
you grow. You definitely grow, and you do come through very very much stronger, and that's kind of a positive thing. I think I like who I am. I like the fact that I think I'm a stronger person for this.
Right.
So that's a good thing. That's
I certainly learned to be a more open and accepting person through all of this.
And yeah. And one of the really wonderful things is you get to sort of start your life again, which is very cool. You get to be reborn, and that's a neat thing. I think we actually have a call. Good evening, nlcTrans. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Joslynne's brother Norbert calling.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Thank you for calling.
No problem, my pleasure. I wanted to ask Joslynne a question that I don't think I've ever asked her. What was the most difficult thing for you, Joslynne, about growing up and deciding that you wanted to live as a woman and then having to, take on that role?
What was the hardest thing? My biggest fear was my family still accepting me and loving me. The whole time I was thinking it was my family and it was really me. That sounds crazy, but small, but that was my world. That's all I had back then. That's all I could count on was my family back then. That's all I had.
Okay.
And to have the kind of mother that we had to accept you whether you wanted to be gay male or, transgendered female turning male to female, and she just accepted it, being the kind of woman she was and so religious, was incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I have a question for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
How did you feel about it?
How did I feel about it? What was interesting is I didn't really understand what was going on at first. But I assumed that this was how Joslynne wanted to live. She wanted to live as a woman, and that was good enough for me. But I knew that it was going to be difficult for the rest of my family to understand.
Right. That's wonderful. I mean,
And I didn't even know that then.
yeah. I mean,
I
that's
thought he was one of the hardest people to accept me
yeah.
back then.
And I think that's a very common
Because
reaction.
I was the baby brother, basically. I thought
Right.
they were afraid they were losing their baby brother.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because like back then, I wasn't just transgendered and transsexual. I was also a gay boy. I was struggling that. That was the boy in me. I felt, like half boy, half girl, basically. And everybody viewed me that way. That's how I came across. 'Cause that's how I felt.
If I can add to that, what was interesting about my and Jocelyn's relationship growing up is, as little boys, we were like twins. Mm-hmm. Our mother used to dress us in the same clothing, and, we were very close.
Wow.
And then we got to be teenagers, and I started coming out as a gay man. And
I was coming out as both.
Yeah, and you were going a different direction. And so that was tricky.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
But what was that like for you, though, personally, in the 70s and the 80s as a kid? As a gay kid coming out like that? Plus having a transgendered brother on top of it, basically.
it was hard. It was scary. I mean, I knew I was struggling with my sexuality in my own way.
But
And
did you even know that Mommy was arrested for that a few times because of me?